Good afternoon. Welcome to the Dhronas online. We are back again with just a minute. Okay. We are here for a very special session on electoral process analysis. And you know that many states are in the phase of election right now or is going to be in the phase of election very soon. So we are here to analysis of the electoral process and we'll try to analyze the constitutional aspect as well as the executive aspect of it. So let's start without further delay. Okay. So at the very beginning, we have to understand that free and fair elections is a basic structure of Indian Constitution. And to ensure free and fair election, we have different safeguards, or we have different pillars of, to ensure free and fair election, we have these different columns. The first one is obviously the constitutional column. How Constitution is ensuring a free and fair election, and that is under Part 15 and Article 324. Under Article 324, we have a dedicated separate election commission who is in charge of conducting elections all over India. The president election, the vice president election, elections to the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, as well as the state assembly and state legislative council. All these elections are conducted by Election Commission of India and they are empowered under Article 324. And that is the constitutional column. We will discuss about it. Next, we have the legislative framework. The legislative framework, that means we have RP Act 1950 and RP Act 1951. The Representation of People Act 1950 and 51. And both these acts actually a translation of constitutional intent into measurable or actionable electoral mechanics. It includes the conditions, it includes the qualification, disqualification criteria, all this. Right. Achha. This session is being live, and if anybody has any doubt, you can ask the queries here. We will try to answer as far as possible. Achha. Just a moment. Okay. Next is the third column is the ethical barometer. We have a model code of conduct that keeps check on the ethical issues, and we will see about that also. The what is an MCC, and again it has no legal backing. It's a consensus driven model. It's a consensus driven model to ensure that the election is conducted on a level playing field, and no ruling government or maybe any other party has certain advantages, right? And the last one, the fourth column, obviously it's the demand of the time, that is the technological safeguard, EVM and VVPAT ecosystem, the electronic voting machine, and the verified paper audit trail ecosystem. So all these columns, they try to ensure a free and fair election, which is a basic structure, which is a component of the basic structure of Indian Constitution. Right. So we'll look at one by one. So moving on. Part 15, elections, that we have from Article 324 to Article 329, we have the elections. Now, Article 324 to Article 329, we have the election process. 324, I have already said, it's about the election commission, a commission that is given the duty to conduct, and we can consider it as the engine. It will superintend, it will direct, it will control the election. And now we are seeing that in entire country, in many states, they are conducting the special intensive revision, including our state, that is West Bengal. They have, recently they have published the final list, and all these things are going on. And now they have also transferring officers. They have also, all these things are trying to ensure the free and fair election, right? Okay, that is 324. What about 325 and 326? This is simply the universal adult suffrage condition, that nobody should be prohibited to take part in the election just because of these things: religion, race, caste, or sex. That is Article 325. So India follows universal adult suffrage. That means if you are an Indian citizen ordinarily residing in India and you are above 18 years, then you can be enrolled as a voter. That is the only qualification that you should have to be registered as a voter. So these things, and which amendment did this? 61st amendment. Before that it was 21, the age of 21. Now it is age of 18, right? So that is 325 and 326, the franchisee, who can vote. This is the authority who will conduct, this is who can vote. Next we are coming to the duties. 327 and 328, specific electoral laws they can make, and the constitution has given both the parliament and the states to make laws on specific electoral laws, so that whatever is missing in RPA, that means the Representation of People Act, can be bridged. And there are multiple laws made by both parliament and states to bridge that gap. And lastly, we have Article 329, that is the judicial shield, and it says that once the electoral process is notified, you can only challenge via post-election petitions. You have to file a petition to challenge. For example, if for any MP election, if a MP election is challenged, it has to be challenged through a high court, right? High court has original jurisdiction in that case, right? So these are the part 15, the constitutional column that we're talking about, right? Part 15, Article 324 to Article 329, and it encompasses all those things: the who will conduct, who can vote, who will make laws, and obviously how you can complain or how you can file petitions. Achha. Moving on, the next one, that is the authority, the engine that I'm talking about, the ECI. And the ECI's structure as well as obviously the independence. It is considered to be one of the bulwarks of democratic system in India. There are 4 such institutions which are considered to be bulwarks: ECI, UPSC, CAG, and Supreme Court. Why? Because all of them together, they support the democratic principles of the country. And what is the role of ECI here? The role of ECI is to conduct a free and fair election, to ensure that in a democracy, the final voice should be of the people, right? So, what is the composition? Originally, ECI was a single member body. There was only one election commissioner, and it was formed on 25th January. This particular date is celebrated as National Voters Day, right? Okay. Now, since October 1993, actually after that 61st amendment, since so many new voters will be enrolled and all, so workload will be more, and that's why that one member body has been transformed into a 3-member body: 1 chief election commissioner and 2 election commissioners, as you can see. And what is the process of appointment? the CEC, the Chief Election Commissioner, will be appointed by a committee, a selection committee, and that selection committee has been under some matter of controversy or discussion in the recent times, because Supreme Court said that the committee should have PM, leader of opposition, as the Chief Justice. But the Parliament has made a law that the selection committee should have the PM, a union cabinet minister, and leader of opposition. The controversy was that the government will have a majority there, 2:1, because union cabinet minister and the PM will belong to the same part. Okay. Can you hi sir, in the topic CEC, can you explain me? It is very hard. Okay. Fine, we are actually in the CEC topic only, the Chief Election Commissioner topic only. Right. Now, this Chief Election Commissioner, right, this is the part that I'm talking about. The selection committee, it will comprise of Prime Minister, Union Cabinet Minister, and the leader of the opposition. So definitely there's a chance of having a bit biasness, because both of them will belong to the same political ideology, and that's why there was a little bit of controversy regarding this. But finally, they will recommend a person who will be appointed by President, right? And what about their salary? Their salary has recently been changed. Previously, it was equivalent to a Supreme Court judge, but recently it has been changed to equivalent to Cabinet Secretary, right? So recently it has been changed to a Cabinet Secretary. Achha. Now, what about Chief Election Commission? At present, Mr. Ganesh Kumar is the Chief Election Commissioner of India, and he or she will have certain, independence. For example, the tenure is 6 years or 65 years of age, whichever is earlier. So 6 years in the office or 65 years of age, whichever is earlier, on that day he will retire, right? Now the thing is, if the parties want to remove the CEC, it has to be done through parliamentary impeachment. It cannot be done at random. He has security of tenure, so it cannot be done at random. It has to be done through a parliamentary impeachment on the grounds of proven misbehavior or incapacity. For reference, recently an impeachment motion has been the opposition party, they tried to include an impeachment motion against the present CEC, but the speaker and the chairperson of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha respectively, both of them actually rejected that motion, so that motion will not be carried forward, right? So the removal motion is only through an impeachment, and that means that the CEC has certain independence in whatever decision he is making. He is the Chief Election Commissioner of India. He is not the Chief Election Commissioner of any government. So there is a very difference, and it is being said by one of the legendary election commissioner of India, that is T.N. Seshan. Achha. Now, what about the other election commissioners? The other two election commissioners can be removed by Chief Election Commissioner's recommendation, right? So they can be removed by Chief Election Commissioner's recommendation, but the CEC can be removed only via a parliamentary impeachment. Parliamentary impeachment, and it is exactly similar like a Supreme Court judge removal. It is exactly similar like that process, right? And even a Supreme Court judge will be removed only via a parliament impeachment, and then President will remove that judge. Okay, so that is Election Commission. Article 324 gives the power and the background of all these independence to the Election Commission, right? And presently the salary they are getting is equivalent to a cabinet secretary. Okay, not a Supreme Court judge. Please check that, huh? Okay. Now, Going forward, next thing, we have seen the constitutional framework, we have seen the election commission. Now let's see the legislative framework, which is trying to bridge the constitutional gap. So in obviously constitution, we cannot put everything in the constitution, because then constitution will be very, very bulky. Our constitution is already the largest constitution in the world. And if I put everything in the constitution, then it would be of 10, 12 volumes, right? That's why we have, whenever we have the directives that yes, you can make laws, so let's bridge the gap. And who will bridge the gap? The RP Act, Representation of People Act. It actually bridges the gap between the constitutional provision and actually the practical execution of it on the ground level. So there are two RP Act. One is 1950 and one is 1951. You know that India, the first general election to India happened in 1951, and it completed in 1952, and then the first Lok Sabha started in 1952 May. So before 1951, before the election, it was the setup phase. How to set up the ground for election, how to set up who will be the franchise, all these things. So boundaries, seats, defining the electorate, who can vote, all these things were part of RPA 1950. And once it is done, once the foundation is done, then they actually have the action mode, which is RPA 1951, which actually is the candidate qualification, disqualification, and there is a very detailed structure of who can be a candidate, who cannot be a candidate. For example, somebody in India, you can contest from anywhere, from any part of the country, if you are a registered voter at any constituency. So for example, suppose you are a registered voter at, let's say, Shiliguri constituency or Darjeeling constituency for general election. You can contest from anywhere. You can contest from Kerala also. Okay. So all these criteria were made under RPA 1951. The qualification, disqualification. For example, if an individual is, put under jail for 2 years for any crime, he has got a sentence of, let's say, 2 years. If that individual has got a sentence of 2 years, he or she will be disqualified. So all these criteria are mentioned under the RPA 1951. So it was the foundation. It was a building on that foundation. RP 1950 and RPA 1951. And both of them tried to bridge the gap between constitutional mandate or constitutional intention and the actual administrative action. Okay. Now, let's have a quick chart between these two, RP 1950 and 1951. So obviously I told you the primary purpose was the building of the infrastructure, the setup, the foundation, and 51 is about the execution. So now obviously since we have the foundation, we are mostly concentrated in 51, the execution part. Okay. What about the key provisions? Yes, how the seats will be allocated, how the electoral rolls, that means the names and the other things of the voters will be taken. Who is an ordinary resident in India? Because it's a criteria, right? All these are part of 50. And out of 51, I told you, qualification, disqualification, corrupt practices. Which practice is a corrupt practice? That will be defined in 1951. Okay. What about the key administrative offices? Because to run an election, you need administration at every level, right? So CEO, DO and ERO, all these were defined, and here they actually empowered the returning officers to oversee actual polling and counting. So obviously, those of you who are watching and who will be in the executive arena and who will join as executives later when you clear the exams, you will be having these duties yourself, right? Okay. And the last one, that the timeline. I told you it was pre-election. It was the pre-election method and it was during election actually, the active election. The moment the polls notifications comes out, it gets triggered, right? Okay, so that is RPA 1950 versus RPA 1951. For those of you who are watching, you can take a screenshot and you can just keep it. This particular analysis. Okay. Now moving on. If you have any other queries, you can actually tell it in the comment box. We will try to answer. Okay. And those of you who are watching, it will be an earnest request. Please share the video and subscribe to our channel, obviously, to get more such dynamic and interesting content. Okay. Now, this is the pyramid of execution, and this is the administrative role at different tier. See, at this particular part, the people of West Bengal has now very well know what a BLO means, right? Because of this entire 4-month, 5-month long SIR process, we know what a BLO means, the booth level officer. And then the more you go up the tier, the more centralized and the more powerful the position is becoming. So obviously, it is for the grassroots verification, the BLO. Then we have a ERO, that is constituency level electoral. Constituency level, for example, the entire India is divided into 543 Lok Sabha constituency. So for a constituency level, we have an ERO. Then we can have a DO, that is district level coordination. And then we have a CEO, that is Chief Electoral Officer for a state, right? And again, the people of West Bengal has now been very much acclimatized with the term CEO, because constant notifications are getting published from this particular level. And then obviously we have in the top tier, in the apex level, we have the ECI, who will actually make the policies, right? So from booth level to constituency to district to state and to the center, we have this particular administrative structure. The more you come down, the more grassroots you are getting. The more you go up, the more centralized the process is becoming, right? And obviously, the data and ground truth will flow from this level to that level. The data will flow from this level to that level, and delegation of authority will come from this level to this. He will delegate the work to this level, they will to this level, they will to this. This is the delegation of authority, and this is how the data will flow. So this is the administrative structure, right? And what we call the pyramid of execution. Next we have the CEO operations. Let's check what the role of a CEO here, what the role of the Chief Electoral Officer in a state election or in any election. And this particular diagrammatic representation for students, UPSC students or any other, where you have to make an answer, make a note of it, you can use these pre-election phase, during election phase and post-election phase. In pre-election, obviously, you have to identify the vulnerability, where the chances of like accidents or booth capturing or sensitive issues, they can occur. So you have to understand that. You have to map those areas, map those booths actually. You have to ensure that EVM and VVPAT, the digital security that we have, you have to ensure that these are available. And obviously, the model code of conduct, the ethical parameters that we have, that is pre-election. During election, obviously, he will be on 24-hour duty. Formal commencement, the vote has been started, the polling has been started. Then reports, then hourly reports or maybe quarterly reports or maybe whatever duration he wants. And then obviously the EVM scrutiny and the EVM sealing and everything. That is during election. Okay. And then the post-election phase, where the counting and everything will be occurring, and obviously the audit of expenditure. Because if a candidate does not file the election expenditure in the proper time, then his candidature can be disqualified. And there is a particular guideline of how much you can spend in a election, how much you can spend on star campaigners, everything. Right. So that is CO operations. And this is, you can say, the command center. An entire state is going into election. I am in the command center and I am commanding all the constituencies. For example, West Bengal will go on election on two phases, 23rd April and 29th April, and West Bengal has a total of 294 constituencies. So all these 294 constituency will be under the command of Chief Electoral Officer. Okay. Move on. Next. Next, come to the lowest level, that is the BLOs, booth level officer. What the booth level officer will do? And it's a constant cycle. It's a constant cycle. We have another comment, sir. Is there any roles of the houses in removal of ECs? Election commissioners, okay, we have already discussed that. You just have to go back a video a bit. In the ECs removal, election commissioners removal, you can have only the CEC's recommendation. But for CEC removal, you have to have, Parliament's impeachment process, right? Okay. Now, here you can see that the booth level officer is, entrusted with this work, which is actually kind of who can be a BLO. This is the profile specification. Okay. You can be a teacher, you can be a post, you can be any local semi-government or government official. Okay. And obviously, your jurisdiction is very small, but you have a very, very specific duty in that jurisdiction also. Since it's a democratic election, everybody should be part of it. So what he or she is doing, the updation, the verification of the electoral roll, or maybe, if you have shifted to different address, or in your family a voter is dead, in that case we have to update the voter records, right? So all these things, and obviously the distribution. Suppose the EPIC, that is photo identity cards, electoral's photo identity cards, which we call voter ID. Okay, we have to distribute that. All these things are part of a BLO job, right? And obviously you will be having certain amount of remuneration, but that's not very important. Okay, but that is grassroots. And this administrative decentralization actually ensures that at every level we have adequate manpower to conduct a huge exercise like an election in India. Okay, moving on. Now, how a citizen can be a voter? The data intake pipeline. Whenever you go to the election commission site or any other website that they are maintaining, you can see there are so many forms. Form 6, Form 7, Form 8, there are so many forms. What are the purposes? So suppose you are a citizen, you are here, and based on your characteristics or your profile, you will be routed to different forms. Are you a new voter? Do you want to be a new voter? Are you eligible? Then obviously Form 6. Fill the Form 6. If everything goes right, you will be a voter. You will be registered as a voter. Now, if you are living abroad, you are Indian, you are a citizen, but you are living abroad. You are living in some other countries. Form 6. Now, suppose there is an entry of a duplicate voter. There is an entry which is, suppose, of a deceased voter or shifted voter. I have to correct it. So, Form 7. You have seen that his name is there, but you know that he has shifted from this place. So, you can object through Form 7. And what about error correction? For error correction, we have 8 and 8A. See, these are factual. But if you remember this structure, then these things will become very, very easy. So if it's error, Form 8. And if you are shifting your residence within the same constituency, then Form 8A. So these things are related to any citizen who are entitled to be a voter of India, right? So Form 6, 6A, 7, 8 and 8, all these things, links you will get in the voter website if you just check the website. Okay, and this is how any data processed through the from citizen to the electoral system. This is how the data comes. Achha. Now, what about those who are not ordinary residents? Ordinary residents, exceptions to them. For example, service voters. If you are diplomats, if you are armed forces, for example, for West Bengal election, we have seen that CRPFs are getting deployed across the state, and obviously they are from different state also. So if their state is going under election right now, but they are posted in West Bengal, cannot vote, they cannot go. So in that case, they will be considered as a service voter. So they can register at native place. They can be a voter of their native place, of their permanent address, but they can vote through this particular postal ballot system. They can vote through the postal ballot system. They don't need to go to that place to vote, right? These are called service voters. What about overseas electors? You are Indian but living outside India. In that case, you can register at the address of your Indian passport. For example, you are from Mumbai, you can register yourself in Mumbai, but you should be present at the physical polling booth. There is no postal ballot for you, right? Because you are not a service voter. You simply live outside. The other thing is declared office holders. For example, president, minister, speaker, declared office holder. They can register at their home constituency. For example, if somebody is from Assam, but he is now a minister at Delhi, he can register themselves, or he can register himself at Assam only. But whatever the residence doesn't matter. He will stay at Delhi for ministerial work, obviously. So he may not be a ordinary resident of Assam, but he can remain registered in their home constituencies because they are declared officers. And these are exceptions to the ordinary resident. So if let's say UPSC tries to trap you in this, every resident can remain a voter even though they have shifted. It's not true. It's not true. Only these people can remain a voter. Right? Okay. Moving on. Next. Now let's see how we can clean the election process, and that is the safeguarding the mandate, the disqualifications and offences and everything. So I told you RP Act 1951, it actually shows about the disqualification. So this was one of the most important one, the section 8. In section 8, if any individual with criminal background, conviction of specific offences, we can bar them for contesting an election. I told you about the 2 years jail rule. If anybody is convicted for 2 years under a particular offense, he or she will be disqualified. So these are like steps to cleanse the election process so that we can keep the election process dignified, we can keep the election process free from the criminals, and we can keep the election process, the mandate of the people are dignified and dedicated, honest workers, honest people. Okay. What about the financial integrity? Financial integrity means if you are undischarged insolvents. Undischarged insolvent means you are, let's say you are bankrupt and you still have a huge loan to repay, something like that. Other who failed to lodge an account of election expenses. I told you just 5 minutes back, the CEO will have to check all the election expenditure. So if you fail to lodge an account of your election expenses, then also you will be disqualified, because this is about financial integrity. You cannot simply money powered your way to the seat of MP and MLA, right? What about Article 123? We will see the Article 123 in detail actually in the next slide. So let's go to the anti-defection law here. Anti-defamation law is not a part of RP obviously. It was added through 52nd Amendment 1985, and this particular anti-defamation law says that elected members cannot defect. Elected members cannot shift from one political party to another political party while remain in the post. You can join any political party, no problem, but you have to first resign from whatever position you are holding, say MP, MLA, all these things, right? That is anti-defamation law. Again, another safeguard. And why this safeguard is there? It is just to preserve the post-election mandate. Suppose a particular constituency has chosen a member from a particular political party only, say party A, and that member after winning the election has decided to join a party B. This actually nullifies the entire mandate because the people have chosen you to represent them from party A, not party B, and that's why this is a post-election mandate safeguard, right? We will see the 123, the corrupt practices in detail in this part. Okay. So article section 123 of RPA, it actually mentioned the corrupt practices. So here you can have like undue influence. Undue influence in the sense you have used your influence in those areas where it is undue, where it is not needed. That means you have meddled in it. That means election is no longer fair because you have used your power or position to change the result of a vote, right? Remember the Indira Gandhi versus Rajnaran case? Okay, the same thing was actually repeated there. Identity appeals, you cannot do that. You cannot appeal to certain caste, certain religion, certain personal for that, because then you will be discriminating against the voters. And what about false statements? Obviously the lies and everything. So all these, see, false statement, if it is proven, that's automatic disqualification. For this thing, undue influence, interference, physical threats, social ostracism. For example, suppose somebody is going to vote and he or she realize that his or her vote has already been given. Yeah, otherwise the physical threats. If you don't vote for our party, we will kill you, or we will make sure that you will not see any other day. So something like that. These things cannot be done. Same way, identity appeal that I saw. All these things will lead to what? Immediate disqualification. This is again to make the election process clean and transparent and obviously. And obviously, the promises of freebies are not termed. Freebies that under this case, Subramaniam Balaji 2013 case, the promises of freebies are not termed corrupt practices. So all those freebies that are being promised during the election, they are not corrupt practices. They are not corrupt. That means you have a safeguard here. The parties have safeguard here, and that's why you can see increase in the freebie culture across India. Right. Okay. So that is corrupt practices. Now moving on. We are moving to the model code of conduct, the ethical barometer. Okay. To have election in a country like India, we should have a very strong code of ethics, because since the population is so huge, since the electoral number is so huge, it is very easy to corrupt the practice. And once a democracy is corrupt, it may not be able to come back to the democratic roots. And that's why ethical barometer, which was first experimentally used in 1960 in the Kerala Assembly elections as a voluntary consensus. Now it has been in entire country. We actually use MCC. For example, since 1962, we actually circulated nationwide for simultaneous election. And then 1979, a very comprehensive NCC was introduced to curb money and muscle power. I told you just few minutes before, you cannot simply money powered your way to a MLA or MP post. Sadly, that's the case in many cases. That's the case in many instances we have seen. But there is an MCC. But what is the problem with MCC? MCC is a tiger with invisible teeth or toothless tiger. Since it has no statutory backing or legal backing, that's why even though it's operative, it is consensus derived, even though it is operative, in many cases the implementation lacks jurisdiction, the implementation lacks power. And that's why that is one of the biggest issue with MCC, the Model Code of Conduct. Okay, when it is implemented or when it is imposed, the moment election is declared in any state, MCC is imposed. And once MCC is imposed, the ruling government cannot, introduce any new orders or any new schemes because it can influence the voters. Okay, that is the ethical barometer of MCC. Okay, and that's why from the announcement of the election schedule, the moment it is announced, MCC becomes instantly active and it regulates the party in power. So they cannot announce any new financial grant, they cannot announce any new project, okay? They cannot make any ad hoc civil service appointments. If a process is going on, for example, let's say an exam was started in 2024, the election was declared in 2025, that exam result I can publish because it's an ongoing process. But for other things, we cannot have an ad hoc civil service appointments or official ministerial visits. We cannot do all this because these are part of undue influence. These will be part of undue influence, and voters, decision making can be compromised. Okay. Now, what about the end? The moment the vote result, the poll result has been declared, MCC will be deactivated. And we also have certain digital enforcement system also. One is Vigil, C-Vigil, and one is Suvidha. These portals actually empower citizens to report violations or maybe digital clearance for campaign logistics. Like, for example, whenever you are campaigning, you need to use certain helipads or maybe some other part. So in that case, you can have simply first come first serve digital clearance for all your campaign related activities. So these things are digital enforcement ecosystem. And this is about the ethical barometer, right? Okay, moving on. Just a minute. Continue. Okay, fine. We now have the technological architecture, the EVM and the VVPAT mechanism. EVM and the VVPAT mechanism, all of you who have voted, you must have seen this machine, which is the ballot unit, which is the EVM, the electronic voting machine. And here you have seen these buttons. You have to press that. And how the data is getting transferred and how will ensure that whatever button you press, the vote will go to that party. How to ensure that? It is ensured by this VVPAT unit, the voter verifiable paper audit trail. So whenever you press the button, it will actually signal, it will turn red, it will initiate a sound, and then through this particular machine you can see which party you have voted, and you can actually check that whatever button you have pressed, the paper trail is also showing that particular symbol. This is for the voter verifiable paper audit trail. It was first initiated in Nagaland, now it is being used in entire country, right? Okay, now this is how we can secure a vote entirely from start to end. So whenever you are entering a polling booth, right, you will be first, your name will be marked, you will be having the ink on your finger, and then the polling officer will press the ballot button. It will unlock it for one time use only. So for every voter, that polling officer has to initiate the process. So one time only, he will go, he will press a button that will turn red and you will hear a sound, and then the data will be transmitted. Sorry. The data will be transmitted from control unit, from the ballot unit to control unit, and then you will see this particular part where you can see the voter, the name, symbol, everything, so that you can be ensured that whoever I vote, my vote will go to that person only, and then it will that paper will be stored in a secure storage to randomly check for voting trends after the election, the cross verification. So these are the entire steps to ensure a secure vote, from authorization, the casting, transmission, physical verification, very very important, and then the storage. And generally, randomly selected polling stations per constituency, they will check entire voter slips also. They will count the voter slips, they will check the voter slips serially, and they will match them with the voting in the EVM. Right. This is how the entire security is ensured. Because there were some allegations regarding tampering of EVM, and this is how this particular doubts can be raised. Can be. Okay. Now, what about the integrity of your vote? Obviously, the EVM will undergo rigorous testing, that you press a button, it will not go to any other party. That's one. It has randomization also. Randomization means that these are randomly allocated from district. These are not like some numbers will be there and you have to go to that number only. No, it's not. These are randomly allocated, as well as these are further randomized from constituency to specific. First, random allocation to district, then random allocation to constituency. That means nobody will know which EVM will go where. So there is almost zero chance of tampering. Almost. Achha. What about the last stage, that is transparency check? So there will be an entire process check in presence of all the political party representatives. So you press and you will see that the vote will go to your party. He will check that. That is transparency check. So these are the data integrity that we are talking about, or the algorithmic integrity, from first level checking to transparency. Right? Okay. Now, what about the final integrity ecosystem? We have checked almost entire process from constitutional to ethical. Now let's sum up. So we have the main engine here, that is ECI. We have the rules of engagement here, 50 and 51. And obviously we have the secure mandate, that is EVM VVPAT. And obviously we'll have the level playing field, that is MCC. And all these together actually make sure that India is now have a free and fair election process. And if any method fails, then there is another pillar who will be absorbing that load. If any of the system fails, then another method will absorb the load. So that means the system should work well from start to the end to ensure that free and fair election. Right. Okay. Now we are actually at the end of the session, and since this session is mainly meant for UPSC, and since in UPSC answer writing, every time when you write an answer, you will try to have a conclusion, and before conclusion you will try to have the present trends or the current trends or the pros and cons, everything. So here we will see what about the contemporary evolution. So there are certain threats, and obviously we have certain countermeasures. For example, the threat for digital campaign and the silence period. It's the age of digital media. So in that case, social media during the 48-hour silence period, 48 hour you cannot actually campaign in the street. So what about social media? In that case, the countermeasure is the voluntary code of ethics agreed upon by the ECI to process legal removal requests within 3 hours. 48 hours before vote is silence period. In that case, physical campaigning will not be possible. But since we have social media now, we can campaign the social media. So what they have done, all like major social media platforms, they have agreed we will remove all those campaigning posts within 3 hours if you request, and if it is within the 48-hour window. So threat countermeasure. What about a threat? Criminalization, and that's a real threat in India, right? So money and muscle power. What about the countermeasure? We have already checked section 8. This is a way of answer writing also. You can make 3 columns, threat and countermeasure, threat and countermeasure. You can make it, will look very good, and it will, you have to write very little words, very less words but powerful words. What about this? Disinformation and real-time auditing. Disinformation has been emerged as one of the biggest threat. Fake news, tampering, and with the with the AI, we can tamper with anything, and AIs are getting dangerous day by day, right? So in that case, misinformation, rapid misinformation, it can simply swing a vote from a party to a different party. If we can simply run a campaign which can be based on misinformation, what is the countermeasure? The C vigil. You can report that this is a misinformation. You can report that this is a blatant lie or something, right? So for almost every threat we have a countermeasure which again will ensure free and fair election, right? Okay, moving on. The resilience of the democratic blueprint. India has been a democracy for centuries, and the resilience of that blueprint is the electoral process. It is not only a exercise, it's a masterpiece of institutional architecture. From booth level to central level, we have actually huge workforce working together simultaneously in sync to have a free and fair election, so that the democratic blueprint or the democracy in India survives. And that's why the constitutional independence of the ECI, the representation of people act, as well as the MCC and EVM VVPAT, India actually sustains the largest, most complex and most resilient democratic mandate in human history. The Indian election is a marvel in its own, and to run that show continuously year by year, we have this entire architecture working behind, right? So on this note, thank you, and I hope this session will be helpful for your exams or maybe for your general knowledge purpose. And I would like you to subscribe to our channel and to share this video for as many engagements as possible. Thank you. Take care. Bye.